Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for the July edition of Sketch It Up, Sketch It Down, a collaboration that I do with my friend Iris. This is the sketch that she created for us to work with this month. I am working 12 by 12 and she is working in a traveler's notebook. I have also decided to convert my sketch to a Scrappy Christmas in July layout. So I started with the sketch, and in the sketch there are 3 frames. So I pulled frames from Simple Stories because once upon a time I designed for them, and I have a boatload of old chipboard frames. And I decided I wanted a little bit of mixed media in the background. This is not called for in the sketch, but you know that I love my simple mixed media, so I am using a Tim Holtz template with the Christmas trees, and my original plan was that I wanted to use these Vicki Boutin crayons. However, you'll see when I put it through, nothing goes through the stencil. Well, more goes through than I thought went through based on this picture. However, when I lifted up the stencil, you could very barely see the trees, and that wasn't going to work for me. So I decided to try just the mist in the packaging technique through the stencil, and that didn't quite work either. So I just decided that I was going to check and see if maybe it was the color of the pattern paper, the cardstock, but it wasn't the cardstock. So I went and I got some Vicki Boutin texture paste, and this is slightly metallic, and I am going to use that same spray and I'm going to color the texture paste, and I'm going to use that instead, which I absolutely end up loving because it provides this little bit of shimmer in the Christmas layout as well as a tone-on-tone look that I really like. This cardstock is from, in fact, all of this pattern paper and the cardstock are from a scrap room kit from December or January, I can't remember, that I didn't use. And the cardstock that comes with this particular kit is a really light mint green. And so by putting the colored light mint green texture paste on top, it provides this really cool shimmer tone on tone. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to let that dry, or mostly dry. Those of you who know me know that I'm not very patient, and drying time is not my forte. And then I'm going to use these same shimmers. There are 3 of them. 2 of them are Vibes and 1 of them is a Colorings. So I have the Vibes Hermit the Frog, Vibes Elfin Magic, and then the 3rd is Colorings Keep Calm, and I'm going to just scatter droplets of that throughout the background, and again just for a little bit of visual interest to the page and also to my table, which I just mopped up. So you can see there the shimmer to that. And then once that background is complete, it is time to go ahead and construct the layout. So as I said, I have the 3 frames that are specified in the sketch, and originally I was going to use this piece of pattern paper that I'm tearing as the background and just frame out the layout. However, I decided that was way too much color, and so I am going to just top the layout with a ripped piece. And you saw earlier I just ripped a teeny tiny corner. Didn't quite work as I wanted. However, I am going to incorporate that tiny ripped corner into the bottom, and I will end up doing that off camera. But what I like about this topper is that it is kind of a play on the title, which is Tree Topper. So to have this little heading, as I like to use, kind of is a play on that little theme there. So when you get the scrap room kits, you get a variety of embellishments. I have both the embellishment add-on as well as just the embellishments that came with my kit. And I'm going to kind of rifle through those to see which one's going to work here for me. I was kind of surprised with this layout when I was finished because these papers are fairly vintage, and this is a very busy layout in many ways. The sketch is fairly simple, but my layout feels like it is very busy. And I think I am not much of a busy scrapper. I'm sort of more of a clean and simple scrapper, but this ended up being much busier than is the norm for me. So I pre-printed my photos, and I'm going to back the frames with them as the sketch calls for. I'm going to have 2 frames with photos and 1 without. 2 of the frames, so the one that says "Oh Joy" and the smaller green frame, are indeed from a Simple Stories Christmas line from ages ago, from when I designed for them, which had to have been about 5 years ago now, I think. And then the black frame is actually from a non-Christmas layout. I had a red frame that coordinated with the others. However, my daughter's red shirt and the red topper on the curtains, or whatever you call those header things, you just couldn't distinguish the photo in it, and so I sought out a black frame which allowed the picture to stand out much more. So that was my original intent, was to use that side of the pattern paper. It was a little more tone on tone, but I felt like the frames got lost in it, whereas they stood out amongst the squares in this. So while the pattern is busier and it's a bit louder, it does allow for you to see the distinctness of each of those chipboard frames there. In the sketch, Iris has used a pattern paper behind that central piece of pattern paper. So I was looking at that green, and what I'm going to end up doing is actually use the selvage on the back side for that green as the header of that segment there. And then I'm going to use another one of those stickers. They're kind of edging stickers that coordinates with the sticker that I've used up the top there. And it has that same green in it, so it sort of is the uniting factor between the top and the bottom there. Now, these stickers are, as I said before, pretty vintage looking, and that silver medallion, and I think it's a Santa, but I'm not sure because I covered it up. While they look cool, it just stands out like a sore thumb to me on the layout, and I do like white. So I am going to use a few white stickers in this, label stickers in this, as I'm going through this layout, just for the pops of brightness and the crispness that gives the more vintage looking sort of faded effect. So you can see that there. I'm almost certain that that's a Santa, but I again, as I've said, I've covered it up and I can't remember, and so I will get a label and cover that. So I do cover a lot of the trees at the top, and that's okay because you still get to see what they are on that left-hand side there. So that's the leftover piece that I cut, and I thought maybe that I would put some paper layers and build more layers behind the photo cluster. However, it doesn't need anything else. In fact, it almost is too busy. So those are the labels. This is a label that's left over from something I did previously, and then I'm going to use one of the holly branches and just to add some visual interest to the page. And then there's where that white, which without something on it is very much an eyesore, but I had intended all along that something would go in there, and I found the perfect embellishment and the embellishment clusters that came with my kit. So I backed that with some of the leftover paper, and I am going to just adhere that over a little bit of the white so that it's not quite so bright. And I'm going to trial a couple of the other embellishments to see what else I can add to the page. I love that red star. The red pulls the red in my daughter's shirt, which pulls the theme of the pictures. And then you can see I had some leftover modeling paste, and so I just put 3 little trees down the bottom. It was kind of to tie your eye together. So in this page, the movement of the page really goes from that topper where the Santa is to the title, which is very shimmery, that says tree topper, to the photos, and then down to the trees at the bottom there, where I have also off camera stamped the date, and then that ripped corner that I referred to I put as well. So for a little bit of interest, I am going to put a thread ball behind this Santa up here. It says something underneath, but I am going to cover that with a word sticker. You see those word stickers that are sitting there, and it says all the trimmings because this is a Deck the Halls type layout, and so I wanted the phrasing to be more relevant to that. So you can see the red star that I got, and it works perfectly on muting the crispness of that white and providing some interest to the page there. I will tell you that off camera, I am going to add sequins. I have the Holly Berry sequins mix from Spiegelmom Scraps. It is a mix of green, white, and red. I think some of the elements are gold as well. With all the splatterings of paint that are around it, it just needed a little extra color because otherwise the color was so focused to the center of the layout there. I'm popping up a couple of the elements on some foam tape because they are sitting on top of the chipboard frames and they need that added depth to lift them so they don't get smushed. And that other little sticker that I stuck there says trimming the tree. And I could have left those and maybe had them serve a purpose as the title, but I really wanted to put tree topper. These are some foam thickers. Again, that black frame is pretty dark and I felt like I needed contrast elsewhere in the layout, so I love the way that these stars did that. They also are the stars that are called for in the sketch. I just have a little extra one there. I had tried a different color font for the title, for topper, but it got lost. So you really had to have the black. I didn't have much choice but to use the black for topper. And then I'm going to use a really sparkly foam glitter sticker, thicker, for tree. And that will wrap up the title. I did shift the title. Iris has the title at the top of the layout, and then she has that tag on the bottom right hand side. So I kind of swapped. I put the title on top of the frame, obviously, and then I switched where that tag would be because it just made more sense in the schematic of how the layout worked out for me. And that's the beauty of sketches, is that you can take the basic sketch and use it as a template and then just work from there. So be sure to head over to Iris's YouTube channel and check out what she's done with this sketch. It's an amazing project. Enjoy the close-ups. Thanks for stopping in today. And if you do use the sketch and you play along, if you use hashtag sketch it up, sketch it down, we would love to see what you do, and come and comment and leave some love. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Take care.